From Southern Colorado's high-definition news leader, this is News Channel 13, where the news comes first.
But we have to move on. I think it's time to safely move on in the city. That's my message tonight. But the police will still be here doing our very best to keep the city safe and sound.
Coming up on Good Morning Colorado, another night of protests across the country. We'll take a look at the escalating violence in response to the election of Donald Trump. Meanwhile, a different scene unfolding in Colorado. We recap peaceful protests across the Centennial State.
And we'll have a look at some warm weather in the near term and some colder stuff coming eventually. That's coming up in just a bit.
Good morning, Colorado. It's 8 o'clock on your Sunday, November 13th. I'm Stephanie Sierra. We want to start with developing news out of New Zealand. Officials there say a powerful 7.8 magnitude earthquake has struck the region, generating a tsunami, with the first waves hitting the South Island. The Department of Civil Defense warned people all along the country's east coast to move to higher ground. This is video of the quake from a home there. Some minor damage was reported in the capital, Wellington, but there were no immediate reports of major damage or injuries in the region. And here's a live look over La Vida, courtesy of our Viera Wireless Neighborhood Weather Network camera. And yet again, we are expecting another gorgeous day. We're going to send it over to Storm Tracker 13's Marty Venachinque to see how long this will last, Marty.
Well, the nice weather's just going to keep rolling, I guess, until it doesn't. It sounds like a pretty unreasonable thing to say, doesn't it? But that's about as much as I have for you right now. There are some clouds moving in. You saw some of the mountain wave clouds there from that shot in La Vida. Real pretty, by the way. There's actually even been a little bit of radar activity over the Continental Divide, a couple of flurries. Could be a sprinkle or a flurry over near the mountains later on today, but we're not expecting much. For the most part, we'll just filter the sun a little bit. 39 right now at Phil Long Kia. Looking back over downtown Colorado Springs through the Neighborhood Weather Network. And the clouds there obviously are thin, and it's a little warmer this morning than it was this time yesterday. We're 50 already at the Pueblo Chieftain studio, though the airport is reporting temperatures about 10 degrees cooler than that. So there's a little variety out there with respect to temperature currently, but we do think that we're going to warm nicely as we head into the afternoon. So I think by lunchtime we'll be in the 60s in both Colorado Springs and Pueblo. We already have 55 at the Colorado Springs Airport. We'll have 60s to near 70 then through the afternoon. A little breezy today, as I mentioned. We'll have some clouds around. Other than that, real nice wrap up to the weekend. We're tracking some wind here as we head into the work week, and then eventually that colder air. We'll talk about that in our 7-day forecast coming up in just a bit. Stephanie, back to you.
Marty, thank you. Now to the ongoing protests across the country. President-elect Donald Trump was lying low again yesterday, working at home with his transition team to fill more than 4,000 jobs opening up under the Trump administration. But as ABC's Jim Avila shows us, the transition isn't going smoothly. Those angry about his upset win show no signs of cooling off.
Overnight, a fourth night of violent protests in Portland, Oregon. Thousands of demonstrators clashing with police, spraying tear gas to clear the streets. The chaotic scene unfolding as demonstrations were carried out from coast to coast in front of the president-elect's Manhattan Tower, to Los Angeles, where an estimated 10,000 people marched through the streets.
This is a very multicultural, diverse country. We can't have somebody who stands against that as the head of the government.
And parts in between, like Indianapolis, home state of the vice president-elect, where a protest of 500 in front of the state capitol began peacefully, but ended with some hauled away in handcuffs.
When there is violence, we have to take action. That is our responsibility as a police department.
Stop Trump now!
Hundreds arrested this weekend nationwide as anti-Trump protesters react to Trump's election and the racism that has accompanied it. The Southern Poverty Law Center saying there have been more than 200 reports of hate-based intimidation and harassment since Election Day on college campuses in Michigan, Massachusetts, New York, and that's not all. At the University of Oklahoma and the University of Pennsylvania, an investigation into a violent racist group chat aimed at African-American students. The FBI brought in to investigate. Penn student Nadia Browning was one of the targets.
I wasn't surprised by the hate that was coming my way, but it really hurt because in my lifetime, I've never experienced anything like this before.
Some Trump supporters on campus embarrassed by what's going on.
we all come together, regardless of who we voted for, and we make it clear that these things aren't acceptable.
Coming up later in the newscast, we'll have more on the increase in hate crimes that have taken place since Tuesday. Protesters against President-elect Donald Trump found themselves in our own backyard yesterday. Hundreds of peaceful demonstrators held a rally in Fort Collins asking for solidarity, stressing their message, quote, "America is still America," despite the outcome of the election.
We don't tolerate hatred, and we don't cheer when people who are in positions of power talk about violence and othering people who aren't like us.
After the rally, the crowd simply gave one loud round of applause and went on their way. In Denver, AME Church organized a prayer service in response to the protests. The church says it's time for the demonstrations to stop because the country needs to start healing.
The election has created, I think, a division in our country that I think is dangerous and scary. We have children that are afraid. You know, we have communities that don't know what to do next. And in our prayer, we're praying for all the things that have created that dissonance and that unrest in our communities.
About 55 women came out to take part in the prayer service. The peaceful gatherings here in Colorado were overshadowed by the ongoing protest in Portland. Police arresting another 19 demonstrators overnight. Now Portland's mayor is telling his citizens it's time to move on.
If you are upset about the election of Donald Trump and you want change, there are ways to do that. They don't involve taking to the streets with signs anymore. They involve getting involved in a host of organizations that are going to try to make a difference in the lives of Portlanders and of Americans in the next 4 years. Get involved, but don't come participate in a protest in downtown Portland tonight that has been taken over the last 3 nights by people who simply want to fight with the police.
Police have started using distraction devices to help clear the area and make arrests. And in Indianapolis, 2 police officers had rocks thrown at them in the midst of protests last night. In total, 7 people were arrested, but later released due to the lack of evidence to keep them in custody. The city's police chief says some of the protesters are instigators coming from out of town. The battle for Mosul continues to intensify in the Middle East. We'll tell you what's been done now to try and overthrow ISIS militants from the city. Plus, details about the tragic bombing of a U.S. Air Force base in Afghanistan. Those details ahead.
And we're still tracking temperatures way above seasonal averages. Par for the course recently. Not record-setting, but we're only supposed to be at 52 and 58 this time of year, so 60s and 70s, we're doing pretty well. Not going to last all of next week. We'll have more on that in just a bit.
Welcome back to Good Morning Colorado. You're taking a live look over Alamosa, courtesy of our Viera Wireless Neighborhood Weather Network camera. And as you can see, a beautiful shot there. If you were experiencing a little mild temperatures earlier this morning, luck is in our favor. We are expecting just another gorgeous day ahead of us. Time now, 8:10. We have new information about an explosion at an air base in Afghanistan. According to U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter, all 4 victims in the attack on Bagram Airfield were American. 2 of the men killed were service members and the other 2 were contractors. The explosion also injured 16 other U.S. service members and 1 Polish soldier. Right now, the Taliban is claiming responsibility for the attack, saying they planned the move months ago. In Mosul, fighting between Iraqi forces and the Islamic State is still ongoing. A statement by Iraqi's Joint Operations Command claimed that Iraqi forces had killed 30 ISIS fighters and destroyed 9 car bombs in neighborhoods. And in Pakistan, more than 50 people are dead after an explosion at a Sufi shrine. Right now, ISIS is claiming responsibility for the blast, saying a suicide bomber is the cause. Around 500 people were at the shrine for a religious ceremony when the bomb went off. Officials say the remoteness of the region is making it harder for emergency services to reach the area. Paris is marking 1 year since terrorists targeted 6 locations across the city, killing 130 people and wounding hundreds more. Now France is commemorating the victims with plaques at the attack sites. A special performance by Sting marked the reopening of the Bataclan 1 year ago. Terrorists associated with ISIS stormed the venue, opening fire on the crowd, killing dozens of people. A minute of silence was held before the concert to honor the victims. Leaders in Colombia are working on a new peace deal between the government and the FARC rebel group, possibly ending the civil war lasting more than 50 years. Colombia's President Juan Santos announcing last night that negotiations have been reached and a peace accord was signed. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry issued a statement congratulating the government for reaching an agreement. It's been a dry couple of weeks, and while it may seem comfortable outside, that can pose a real problem for firefighters. We're learning more about the impact Colorado's unusually dry season has had on fire danger. And we're taking a look outside of Academy and Woodman. Very light traffic this morning, so if you want to make that last-minute donut stop, do it now.
A good plan. Could use a little sugar to get me going here this morning. Pleasant today, midweek. I think we'll get some wind. Probably some pretty strong wind, maybe some fire danger. Then we'll track that colder air. We'll have all the details for you coming up next. closing in on 8:16 on this beautiful Sunday morning that is partly cloudy and milder than it was this time yesterday. So we're off to a quicker start on the warm-up here. We're closing in on 40 degrees right now in Woodland Park. That's the view from the Greater Woodland Park Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center. Could be a sprinkle up there a little later on today, but I wouldn't get terribly concerned about it. Highway 115 in Turkey Creek, similar sky conditions as we look south towards the wet and Sangre de Cristo Mountains. It's a little warmer, 48 right now. The wind here is relatively calm. It's been a little bit breezy in a few spots, and it will be off and on through the day today, so I think you'll notice that we have a bit more wind than we had yesterday. But where the wind is blowing a little bit, we have 50s because the atmosphere is getting stirred up, and where it's not, for example, out here across the lower Arkansas River Valley, well, we're still only in the 30s. And 20s and 30s are doing it right now for the mountains and mountain valleys. Skycast shows some of the clouds that I've mentioned through the day today, and you see a little bit of color here and there, some radar returns, and that's the indication that there might be enough instability around for some sprinkles, or if you're up high enough in the mountains, maybe a few flurries. I don't think that's going to be a problem for the vast majority of us. We'll just be partly cloudy. Through the afternoon hours, a little wind here and there, but highs should reach the 60s and lower 70s in eastern Colorado, with 40s in Leadville today. But most of the major mountain areas and southern valleys in the southern part of the state should be in the 50s and 60s. So really very mild temperatures again for this time of year. And oh yeah, by the way, tonight, noticed it last night when I went to bed, and then again when I got up earlier than I might like, as the moon was going down, it was pretty. And so we have the super moon tonight. It's 30,000 miles closer than usual. Brightest thing we're going to see until apparently 2034. And so if you're into that kind of stuff, might want to venture out tonight, take a look-see. We'll just have a partly cloudy sky. It really won't be that bad, look cool, but it's not bad. So we don't look real cool for the next few days. We'll be in the upper 60s tomorrow, 70s on Tuesday and Wednesday. But we do think that the wind will be on the increase as the next cold front approaches, and so we might have some concerns with fire weather as we get into the middle of the week, as dry as we've been. There are some indications that this storm system might, Thursday evening into Thursday night, come far enough south to give us at least some spotty snow showers or maybe a few raindrops around Colorado Springs. I wouldn't get real excited about that yet, but maybe have to watch it a little closely on Monument Hill or Teller County. It's close. We'll track it, let you know if it changes. Right now our guess is most of that goes just to our north. We end up colder, obviously, though. Plenty of wind with that system. We'll only be in the 40s on Friday. Might wake up in the teens in many areas Saturday morning before we start rebounding again next weekend, which it looks like we will do. Pueblo, 70s tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday. 60s look decent on Thursday, but a lot of wind that day, and we will be turning noticeably cooler in the afternoon, so kind of a brisk, blustery day. I don't think you'll have to worry about any precipitation with that storm, just some clouds maybe Thursday night. We'll clear them out Friday and then start warming up again as we head into the weekend with highs in the mid-50s Saturday. Canyon City looking for 70s tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. 60-ish on Thursday, only 40s on Friday. Too far south at this point to expect you'd have much threat for precipitation with this storm, but plenty of wind in that Wednesday through Friday time frame. Saturday, we should see the wind back off some. We'll be in the mid-50s. And then Teller County looking for, as I mentioned, maybe a sprinkle today. 60s for highs Tuesday and Wednesday. Could have some spotty snow showers on Thursday. It's, at this moment, not the kind of thing I would get excited about. Those of you that are looking for the first snow, we might have some brief, weak snow showers in the area. If that storm comes farther south, it's not a weak storm. It just doesn't look like it's coming into our area, really. We're kind of getting glanced by it. If it comes farther south, then we may have to get heavier with our talk about snow chances, especially over the Pikes Peak region. But right now, it doesn't look that way.
And Marty can tell you, I've been nonstop asking him, when is the snow going to get here? When can I get my skis out?
It could happen Thursday evening and Thursday night if it comes farther south. Rachel will be tracking that through the week for you.
Great, great. Well, good to know. We'll take the nice weather while we have it. So thanks, Marty.
You're welcome.
The police have asked for your assistance in catching 2 armed suspects in Colorado Springs. But what should you do if you see them? We asked police that question to keep you safe. Find out how they responded coming up.
Coming up in sports, it was Championship Saturday around the Colorado high school scene. We have volleyball, we've got soccer, and of course, football playoffs. All that and more coming up. A very good morning to you. I'm Nick Rothschild. This is your morning sports update. For the second straight week, the Classical Academy hosted a football playoff game, and a win last night meant a berth in the 2A semifinals. However, the Titans would have to deal with Kent Denver to get there. Not a good start for TCA. Cade Bethany loses the Piggy. Sun Devils come up with it. That leads to Joey Light on 4th down. Finds Conrad Yost. Devils up 14-3. Not all bad for the Titans defense. Check out Austin Weingart. Hell of a two-way player. As evident here, Weingart takes the handoff, earns a couple whoops, maybe a little picks up the first down. This game would go into overtime, and oh no, in OT. The Titans get stunned at home. Kent Denver moves on 27-24. Now, when the TCA soccer team walked out onto Dick's Sporting Goods Park yesterday morning, my guess is they were seeing ghosts. They'd been to the state soccer championship 5 of the last 6 years and walked away without winning a single title. Yesterday, it was about exercising demons, and they got right to it against Battle Mountain. Johnny Stevens, he's been so money in the playoffs, and look what he did today, or yesterday. Oh, poor keeper. That's the first goal of the game. What a stunner. Later in the first half, it's Jaden Borja. He spent the entire day in the Battle Mountain defensive third. He gets a cheeky chip of the keeper there. Titans, they take the 4A title in a landslide, 7-1.
It's probably the biggest moment we've ever had in Titans soccer. We've been, I think it's 5 or 6 state championships, 5 in the last 6 years, and we finally won this one big. We had a great game today. Had, I don't know, the 5 or 6 goal scorers. I don't know. That's a great team effort by us today.
They're having fun. Lewis Palmer went into Saturday seeking their 3rd volleyball title in 4 years, and they crushed it. Dominant from start to finish, Michaela Pudnicki kept her spike hands strong, jumping out of the gym. But you know what they say, defense wins championships. Captain Elizabeth Reich earns the block that would seal the deal. LP rolls to victory in straight sets, clinching that 3rd title in 4 years. Did someone say dynasty?
This one's so special, and for Lydia Putt and I, going out like this on our senior year is fantastic, and of course, I give it up to Holy Family. They're an awesome team. That was an awesome match.
But this one just means so much. We love each other so much on this team, and so this win just felt so good and satisfying.
CSU Pueblo playing for a portion of the RMAC title yesterday against Chadron State, packed down 14-0. But don't call it a comeback. Joseph Jones, the senior, with the interception, an 82-yard return to the house. That's a pick 6. And in the second half, A.J. Thompson, my man, finds Larry Clark with the laser. Thunderwolves go on to win 27-14. They beat Chadron and earn a piece of that RMAC pie.
I'm really proud of the way our kids responded and did some great things. And, you know, it wasn't always pretty this year, but we found a way to win 8 ball games.
That's crazy. I mean, after week 2, I would have never expected us to be in this position right here. So, I mean, it's truly a blessing. And it just shows that anything's possible. I mean, you just continue to work and just let things handle itself, and it's all said and done.
Man, what a fun day in sports, and what a way to follow it up today with the Broncos on the road facing Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. Don't forget, that game kicks off at 11 o'clock, one of those rare early morning kickoffs for the Broncos. Usually see them in the afternoon window. So, hey, you're already up. Might as well just keep the party rolling until 11. Watch the Broncos take on the Saints. I'm Nick Rothschild. Have a great rest of your day.
Having a bad day is part of college, but for one young Denver student, his might have topped the list. He was robbed of his bike and his car in just 2 days, but he's now learning there may be some good in the world after all. Plus, a decision has been made in the case of a shooting incident with a University of Cincinnati police officer. Hear what one judge has ruled. That's coming up.
We're still tracking some nice weather. We're already in the 40s and 50s. Should have 60s to near 70 this afternoon. So we've been looking around the nation trying to find all this cold air that's supposed to be building this time of year. We'll let you know if it's coming. Coming up next.
From Southern Colorado's high-definition news leader, this is News Channel 13, where the news comes first.
Good morning, Colorado. It's 8:29 a.m. on your Sunday, November 13th. I'm Stephanie Sierra. The Fountain Fire Department says the fire that burned on Friday has resulted in one arrest. Investigators say a teenager turned himself in and admitted he intentionally started the fire near the Fountain Library. It's the latest of several outdoor fires this season that have been sparked by kids. The area's second brush fire of the weekend started around 7:30 yesterday morning near I-25 and the MLK Expressway in Colorado Springs. What caused it is still unclear, but firefighters say there are several homeless camps nearby.
It's not just a fire. There's people down there that we need to make sure that they're safe and that they're not going to be, that they're out of that fire zone. Because if the wind picks up and it blows that fire right at them, it'll go faster than they can run.
Our fall weather continues to be unusually warm and dry, but firefighters say it's normally their busiest season due to people not being as alert to high fire danger. And here's a live look over Rush. This is courtesy of our Viera Wireless Neighborhood Weather Network camera. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot to see here. But the good news for us is we're expecting another beautiful day of temperatures. For those of you wondering when those snowflakes are coming, it's going to be a little while. We're going to send it over to Storm Tracker 13's Marty Vanachinkwe to see when that might be. Morning, Marty.
Good morning, Stephanie. I know we have some people who are very much enjoying the nice weather, others that have noted we really could use anything to fall from the sky, and still others who just can't wait for that first snow. Well, those of you that like the warmth, well, congratulations. You're going to keep it for a little while. Skyscan shows a little bit of radar activity coming out of the mountains west of Denver. There might briefly be a few flurries or some drizzle over some of our mountain areas as that passes by, but for the most part, that's not our concern today. We think we'll be partly cloudy and pretty nice. We've had some heavy rain in South Texas, a few showers and thunderstorms over the southeastern United States, and we're tracking yet another system moving onshore across the Pacific Northwest. They've been lined up one after the other, continuing to shoot up into Canada and generally take all the cold air up there with them. Now, this map certainly looks cooler than it did last week. In fact, the eastern United States is relatively cool, considering where they could be this time of year with 40s and 50s. And we also have some cooler air up here across the northern Rockies, but as a whole, this is still a pretty warm map for this late into December, with much of the country enjoying 60 and 70-degree warmth as we head into the afternoon hours. That storm across the west, though, this is going to start to bring some much colder air into the country over the next couple of days. It will eventually get here. Highs today in the mid-60s, upper 60s tomorrow. Will be in the 30s tonight. Have that real pretty super moon to look at tonight, by the way, too. A little breezy here and there. It's not going to be terribly windy the next couple of days anyway. Pueblo, about 70-ish today. Lower 30s tonight. We'll be in the low 70s tomorrow. Probably get a little warmer here as we head through the middle of the week before that colder air gets here. But it's coming. We'll have the 7-day forecast coming up in just a bit. Steph, back to you.
Marty, thank you. 2 police suspects are considered armed and dangerous, and they're still on the loose. Now police are 2 days into the manhunt. KRDO News Channel 13's Katie Spencer spoke to the police about the best way for the public to react if they see something suspicious.
A neighborhood home to several families is still reeling after an armed carjacking took place early Friday morning.
It's a little disconcerting that it's so close to home, but yeah, that kind of stuff can happen anywhere.
The suspects held the homeowners in the 2900 block of East Wildway at gunpoint and stole 2 of their vehicles.
So when people flee the scene from something like that, we are going to consider them armed and dangerous.
Police are investigating if those suspects are involved in several other crimes around the city.
So it was complex and it was a dynamic situation for sure.
Sergeant Tepley says because the investigation is still in its early stages, they're asking the public to keep their eye open for suspicious activity, but to keep your distance as well.
And we don't want citizens taking the law into their own hands. That could become a potentially dangerous situation if that person is armed.
Tepley says if a suspect is approached, it could be dangerous for everyone involved.
And they get involved in a shooting where they get hurt or worse killed, that's not something that they need to be putting themselves in that kind of danger for.
Funk says although she is not happy the carjacking took place so close to her home, she knows neighbors watch out for each other.
And just be aware of anything that is abnormal.
In Colorado Springs, Katie Spencer, KRDO News Channel 13.
Police are still looking for the two suspects, but only have one description: a black male in his 20s wearing a black sweatshirt with a red number 8 on the back. Anyone with information is asked to contact CSPD. Police are looking for one suspect after a shooting at a shopping mall in Albany, New York yesterday. Officers swept through the Crossgates Mall after reports of shots fired. The mall was put on lockdown while police evacuated as many people as they could. Some store employees were told to take shelter inside during the operation. There are no reports of any injuries. Police say there should not be a threat to anyone at this point, and the mall is set to reopen today. The trial of a University of Cincinnati police officer accused of shooting a student has been declared a mistrial. Ray Tensing was facing charges of murder and voluntary manslaughter in connection to the death of Sam Dubose. Hamilton County Judge Megan Shanahan made the decision after jurors were unable to reach a unanimous decision.
You have previously indicated that you were unable to reach a unanimous verdict. You are again saying that after a night of sleep and 2 additional hours of deliberations, you are unable to reach a unanimous verdict. By reason of your inability to reach a verdict, I declare this case a mistrial.
Cincinnati Mayor John Cranley weighed in on the judge's decision, saying he hopes that Tensing would retire. You could say Denver University student Aaron Davis had a bad few days in college this semester. The graduate hopeful had both his bike and his car stolen in just 2 days while attending class earlier this semester. But thanks to the actions of a few good Samaritans, those dark days are behind him. Derek Easlinger and Brian Graham stepped up to help Davis, offering their car and the other offering a new mountain bike. Davis now has the ability to get to school again because of their generosity.
I can't imagine having my car and my bike, both modes of transportation, stolen, so this is the least thing I could do.
If people just take that opportunity to help each other out when somebody's in need, that person that you help will in turn most likely go help another person.
Very sweet story. Davis said he is extremely grateful to Easlinger and Graham and will pay it forward. We may be weeks away from Christmas, but a New York tradition has already arrived. We'll show you the city's famous Rockefeller tree as it makes its way downtown. And you're taking a live look over Plaza de Republique. This is a somber day in Paris as they're getting ready for the balloon launch to honor all the victims of the 2015 Paris terror attacks. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us this morning. You're taking a live look over Sangre de Cristos. This is courtesy of our Viera Wireless Neighborhood Weather Network camera. And look at that shot there. Just a beautiful, beautiful view of the clouds there. And I feel like I keep saying this, but it's true. We get another beautiful day to enjoy today. So I hope you get to get out there and enjoy this beautiful weather while we have it. Time now, 8:40. Despite calls for unity by the president-elect himself, as well as Hillary Clinton and President Obama, much of the country still seems to be divided. Protests against Donald Trump are on the rise. So are reported hate crimes against minority groups. Tom Foreman has the latest.
No Trump! No KKK! No fascist USA!
Far from quenching the bitterness of the long campaign, the final vote has inflamed passions, with anti-Trump protesters flooding the streets in more than 24 cities, cursing the president-elect, burning his effigy. Simultaneously, acts of intimidation and hate by pro-Trump forces are also flaring. At a middle school in Michigan, a cafeteria chant of "Build the Wall." At a Minnesota high school, graffiti, "Go back to Africa," "Whites only," "Trump," and in North Carolina, similar words, "Black lives don't matter." In various sites around the Northeast, police report Nazi-themed pro-Trump graffiti, an African-American doll hung up on a college campus, and the door to a Muslim prayer room scrawled with the president-elect's name. There is no reliable way to measure the true motivation behind all these recent incidents, or to know yet if this represents a significant increase, since law enforcement tracking of hate crimes requires extensive investigation first. But in California, more examples. A Muslim woman says her headscarf was yanked by an attacker. Authorities don't know if it was politically motivated. Her take?
It's a weird coincidence that if it wasn't a hate crime, it's a weird coincidence that it happened right after Trump became president-elect.
At a West Coast high school, a mom says this is how her daughter's day started.
She walked into class, her first class in the morning, and was greeted with, "Are you ready to go back to Mexico?"
At the same school, a student handed out deportation notices, said it was a joke.
It's not a joke. It's not funny. You're making fun of my family. You're making fun of my friends, and it hurts.
Still, the protests against Trump and his supporters, while largely peaceful, have been undeniably bigger and have brought their own ugliness. Cases of vandalism, arson, arrests, and pain.
We have a couple of officers injured. Someone went to the hospital.
Not my president! Not my president!
Through all the hard words, one clear message is coming through. Although the battleground votes have been counted, the battle rages on. Tom Foreman, CNN, Washington.
We'll be keeping an eye on this developing story right here on KRDO News Channel 13. Your Storm Tracker 13 forecast with Marty Venachikwe is up next, but first, here's what's coming up on This Week with George Stephanopoulos.
Good morning. So much to get to on This Week after one of the most shocking upsets in American political history. Donald Trump began his transition this week, went to Washington, met with President Obama. Amid anger and fear in the streets, protests across the country. We're going to talk about it all today with Vice Chair of the Trump transition, Rudy Giuliani, leading candidate for chair of the Democratic Party, Keith Ellison, and our Powerhouse Roundtable, plus Tom Friedman of the New York Times. It's all coming up on This Week.
45 on this Sunday morning, which has started out warmer than it did yesterday in the morning hours, and we're in for a nice day today. Cripple Creek right now in the mid-30s. A little bit of a north wind there. If you look closely, just right of center and up towards the top, you can see Old Glory is definitely moving around a little bit at the Century Casino. And we do expect that some areas will have a little wind off and on today as a very weak wave passes over the state. That wave is, though, helping to stir up the atmosphere, and so where yesterday at this time we were in the 20s at the Pueblo Chieftain Studio, we're up to 56 already. So a nice little difference there thanks to that westerly wind, and obviously a partly cloudy sky. Skycast shows clouds drifting across the area today and even picks up on what we're already seeing on radar, a couple of sprinkles or flurries maybe over near the mountains. Those aren't going to amount to anything of significance today, but you might see a few of them, especially if you live in the mountain areas. And that'll continue through the afternoon. Highs in the 60s to lower 70s in eastern Colorado. Leadville in the mid-40s today. The rest of the major southern valleys probably looking at 50s and lower 60s. And these numbers are at least 10 degrees above seasonal averages, in some cases a little more, but not record-setting. And then again, tonight we have that real pretty moon to look at, the super moon. Got to brand everything, don't we? Biggest and brightest until 2034 because it's 30,000 miles closer. Be a good night to check it out. It was gorgeous going down behind the mountains this morning. I'm sure you'll enjoy just getting a peek at it later on tonight. High temperatures tomorrow, up a few degrees over today's values. We will continue warming into Tuesday, and we'll stay there on Wednesday. So we'll be in the lower 70s. But with that warmth is going to come some wind. And that wind right now, with the dry conditions in place, is probably not helpful. So we might have some concerns about fire weather as we hit the middle of the week. Then the colder air gets here Thursday and Friday. Probably starts to pull out by Saturday, but as it comes in, there is some potential. We'll see at least some spotty showers. Could be rain, more likely snow. Regardless, it looks like the majority of the precipitation with this storm is going to pass off to our north, leaving us with more wind than anything else. If it comes farther south, might get a little bit more interesting, especially around the Pikes Peak region. But that's something we'll have to track over the next several days, because can't be sure exactly how far south it's going to come yet. We have low 70s tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll get windy and kind of blustery as we turn cooler Thursday afternoon, then Friday high only around 50. And Friday night we might drop off into the teens before we start to rebound again this weekend. I don't think you'll have to worry about rain or snow with this system. It looks to go too far north for you. But if that changes, we'll let you know. Canyon City, look for temperatures to be reaching the 70s starting tomorrow, then staying there through the middle of next week before the cool-off hits. And by Friday, we'll probably struggle to reach the upper 40s. So that'll be a definite change from what we're going to have the next several days. And we'll get pretty chilly then during the nighttime hours after that front settles in as well. Mountain areas in the Pikes Peak region probably stand the best chance to pick up some snow with this system on Thursday. And I know a lot of you up there are snow people. You like the snow. I don't think it's going to amount to very much right now, assuming, as it looks now, it tracks where it does. It's not a weak storm, though, which is why I'm kind of hemming and hawing on the fence a little bit here, because I understand enough after a number of years that if that thing just drops a little farther south, then we might pick up several inches of snow.
Right.
Doesn't look that way now. We'll see.
Even though we wanted to, for some of us.
We can use it.
Well,
I mean, really, we could use it.
Yeah. The other thing I was noticing, it's nice that it's not too windy, just
right.
to keep safe on those fire danger warnings. That's good that we're not getting that.
Often this time of year, the wind can ruin another otherwise perfectly fine day. It may come Tuesday, Wednesday-ish, but I think we'll be okay today.
We'll be good for now, so great. Thank you, Marty.
You're welcome.
It's Sunday, which means it's time to check in with our partners at KRDO News Channel 13 Radio for this week's Business Connection. And as Mike Lewis shows us, this week might be a little sweeter than most. Let's take a look.
And good morning. I'm Mike Lewis from KRDO News Radio, and this is the KRDO Business Connection. And this Sunday morning, we're very pleased to have Dan Radabaugh. He's a Village Inn manager here in Colorado Springs. Dan, welcome to KRDO.
Thanks for having me back, Mike. It's good to be here.
Well, thank you. And all businesses that want to do good things for the community and give back, and that's what Village Inn is doing right now. You're working with the Boys and Girls Club. Tell us what's going on.
Well, we are, and it's our third year of working with the Boys and Girls Club over the holidays. What we have going on is a tree setup, a holiday tree, gift tree in each one of our restaurants. And you go in and pick a tag from the tree that a child has put a wish list on, and you buy that item, get it back to Village Inn, and we'll get it delivered to the Boys and Girls Club.
Oh, outstanding. Thanks for doing that for the kids. I really appreciate that.
They really enjoy it.
If you're a business owner and you want to do something for your employees, how about maybe giving a pie for either Thanksgiving or Christmas? And I'd like to have you talk about some of the pies you brought today.
Well, I appreciate that. That is something that we're very excited about. Over the holidays, we'll do in the neighborhood of 300,000 pies between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And some of the favorites I have here for you. We've got pumpkin, French silk, our award-winning chocolate pie, southern pecan, pumpkin with real whipped cream, and of course, apple pie. No holidays complete without apple pie. And of those 300,000 pies that we give away and sell over the holidays, many of them are businesses that do those for customer appreciation. So it's a very nice way to say thank you in a non-traditional way, and who can say no to pie?
I'm trying to figure out which one I want. How many locations do you have in the Colorado Springs area?
We have 6, Mike, in Colorado Springs, and also Monument in Canyon City, real close by.
All right, and great. Remember helping out the Boys and Girls Club when you go by Village Inn.
We would love to have you by and help the kids.
All right, great. Good to see you.
Thanks, Mike. Good to be here.
And happy holidays.
Thank you, sir.
Take care. All right, KRDO News Channel 13 continues in a moment.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us this morning. You're taking a live look over the White House in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. What a beautiful shot that is. Time now, 8:54. Getting your oil change may take a lot of time, but a new business opening in Pennsylvania is giving you something to do while you wait. It's known as the Girls Auto Clinic, a garage that offers to teach people how to work on their cars and do it with style. The shop employs 5 female mechanics who will not only repair cars, but teach you how to do it yourself. It also doubles as a salon that offers manicures and blowouts while customers are waiting. The Toy Hall of Fame is looking to add to their ranks. Earlier in the week, the Strong Museum of Play said out of 12 toys up for induction, the Swing, Dungeons & Dragons, and Fisher-Price Little People made the cut this year. They were ultimately the winners this year because they helped kids use their imagination and were game changers. This year's nominees who did not get inducted may go on the ballot for the 2017 class. Christmas is just around the corner, believe it or not, and New York City is ready to light it up. A Christmas tree arrived at the Rockefeller Center in Manhattan Saturday morning. The 94-foot-long Norway spruce was cut down in upstate New York on Thursday. It is the second tallest tree to ever grace the Rockefeller Center. The lighting ceremony is scheduled to take place on November 30th. New this morning, Fort Carson is welcoming 260 soldiers home from the 4th Infantry Division's 2nd Infantry Brigade Combat Team. The soldiers were deployed in February to Afghanistan, where they assisted in operations to promote security to the region. The ceremony began shortly before 6. And here's a live look over I-25 in Uinta. Very light traffic this morning, which is good for those of you wanting to get a head start on your plans for today. Time now, 8:56. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's time to see how you wake up, Colorado. Victoria sent us this picture, and oh dear, look at that. Get it? There is a deer that seems to be very preoccupied looking at something there, but what a beautiful shot. Victoria, thank you so much for sending that in. Those orange colors are such an indication that we have such a beautiful fall. It is gorgeous, gorgeous. Victoria, thanks so much for sending that in. We love it when people send in pictures. You can send it straight to our Facebook page. You can tweet them or, of course, email them. Just be sure to use the hashtag WakeUpColorado.
We've been waking up to some nice weather lately. A little cool in the mornings, but boy, nice afternoons. And over the next 2 weeks, I guess the bottom line is we'll have more warm than cold. But there will be a couple of instances here where it gets a little chilly. The first being later on this week, as I mentioned, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of wind with that storm. Not sure about our rain and snow chances yet, though I don't think we'll have a lot of it. We'll see. Rachel and Abby will be tracking that for you throughout the week. Then we get warmer again before another shot of cooler air comes in just prior to Thanksgiving. That one also looks to bring more wind than anything else, but as you start getting that far out, I don't make promises. It's just too far. I'm happy to get it right the next 2 or 3 days. So we'll see. You know, it's a change in the pattern. We're going to start to see some colder air.
Right, exactly. We can't complain. It's beautiful, so we'll take it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for joining us.